we all went on and did that. Well, one guy didn't for some personal issues, but we went on as the guys that were in that stack that night. We got one additional reinforcement that was from another outfit that had just come off the previous rotation to fill our capacity up, and we had a solid, successful trip. The question you asked about how did that reshape my vision on the next trip? It reshaped my vision a lot, and it was not just because of that, but the war was changing as well. The trip in 2008 was, I was in the recon patrol. This time, the counterinsurgency campaign was really starting to kick off, not just to neutralize the insurgency. Now it was more about how do we strategically disarm the Taliban, the mindset, the ideology, the extremism, the generational hatred towards, the infidel, us as, the allied forces. So I was tasked with being the partnering force mediator, I guess you call it, where, how do I narrow it down? You have Australian SF guys, they'll go out and they'll have a partnering force, which is like your Afghan military or police, to kind of like start the process of like, hey, we've been doing this for a while now. Eventually you guys are going to need to start figuring out how to fight your own war. So that was the shift. And my philosophy on that one kind of shifted on not just going into the desert and schwacking dudes. It was more about changing the mindset and giving them an opportunity to see what has not been seen. And, that was one of my philosophies to the guys, was like, hey, maybe we assess how we approach this war, and maybe we change our success of the engagements that we get in, the amount of times that we have to use our rifle, and maybe we change the scorecard or turn it over, and let's see how many times we can counter or avoid using our guns by using our words to maybe shift the mindset of the local populace. So that was the drastic difference between the 2008 rotation and the 2010 rotation. Even though we still got in some gunfights, it was just a different mindset on my behalf.
It's interesting that you word it like that, because it sounded like you didn't mind that. And I'm stepping away from the Mason side of things. So it sounded like, in terms of the shift, the different focus of that deployment, you didn't mind that shift. The feedback that I got was you were working as the Afghan liaison and you hated it.
Oh.
So it's a very...
Yeah, so I can definitely see the two sides, and I guess I can accept that I was two-faced on that rotation. There were times where it was painful, and not downplaying the Afghans and the contribution that they had to the war effort. But you've got two completely different cultures, right? You've got A-type personalities, Australian soldiers that have got a pretty good idea of how to fight a war now. They've matured in it. And then you are given the task to train Afghans. And when I say Afghans, any male that's from the age of, probably being generous, 18 through to, probably their mid-50s, which have been brought up in a culture where they're like, hey, we've been fighting wars since, the beginning of time. What do you guys know about fighting wars? You're from the other side of the planet. So when you are met with that, you've got to find a way to help them understand that perhaps there's some things that you can bring to them that they haven't seen. So what I'm talking about is the frustrations of a culture that their work ethic isn't very high. If they don't want to work, they don't come to work. If their shoes are uncomfortable, they just take them off and leave them out in the desert. If you go out on patrol and are looking for the insurgency network, and they know that when the mission's over, they get a weekend pass and they're running short on pocket money. So before they get on the helicopters and go back to camp, they'll drop off at the village and sell the ammunition that is in their AK-47 for a bit of extra money for the weekend.